Welcome to the Grow Your Law Firm podcast, brought to you by Pilma. This podcast helps lead lawyers to more growth, profit, and freedom. Here is your legal marketing expert and host, Ken Hardison.
Well, hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Grow Your Law Firm. And today I have the honor and the pleasure of having Josh Konigsberg with Legal Marketing Pros.
Law firm marketing.
Law firm. I keep calling it legal. It is legal, but the name, that's not the name of your company. The name of your company is Law Firm Marketing Pros. I apologize.
All good.
And I'm looking forward to this because I was on Josh's podcast several weeks ago, and this man knows his stuff inside and out. And you say, how do you know? People that ask good questions are smart people, I tell you. He asked some really good ones of me. So I'm looking forward to this. I don't think I'll do as good a job as you did with me, but I'll do my best.
Thanks for having me. It's a pleasure. A longtime fan of yours, let me tell you.
Thank you.
So, yeah, well, I got the pleasure to meet you about 2 years ago in New Orleans, but known about you for a long time and a long-time fan. Good stuff that you're going on.
Thank you. Thank you. So tell us a little bit about yourself, your journey, and how you got into SEO and digital marketing, and how you formed Law Marketing Pros. Just give me your story. I want to know how you ended up where you are today.
Yeah, so lifelong entrepreneur, came out of college, started a company. My degree's in communication, so I had a degree kind of like a sales and marketing spin to it. And right out of college, I grew this company to $1 million in sales in about 3 years as a kid. And I had a partner. We had a partnership dispute, and I got frustrated with him. And I said, you know what? If you think you do better without me, I'll tell you what. We'll do an earn-out. I'll give you the company, but you pay me out over the next 2-3 years. He was out of business in 6 months. But right. So what that turned into, I got involved with in the medical space. A friend of mine asked me to help him in sales. And so I joined a company doing some mobile diagnostic testing. This is when I was living in Philadelphia, and he was in Jersey, and taught me about medical. And it was really doing plaintiff testing to document injury at that particular time. And in New Jersey, still, thermographic testing is one of the gold standards, one of the few states where they actually still do thermographic testing. But, I'm going back 30 years, right? So I'm dating myself. So within 9 months, I was representing 70% of the company's entire revenue. And obviously I can sell, right? So he, interestingly enough, had a partnership dispute with his business partner, and they ended up having a big blow up, and I was caught in the middle. I was making great money because I was commissioned, right? And it just became very, very, very stressful. So, you know what? I went out and started my own company. I started doing range of motion testing and comparative muscle testing with the same people that I was doing the thermographic testing for. And I grew that to about 15 states and about 3 million a year in a matter of like 3 or 4 years. So I ended up merging that company, and we started a durable medical equipment company concurrent to that, because I had sales reps to scale. I had equipment in like 15 states. And at that point, we started adding SSEP and NCV and whatnot. And we were doing really, really well. And what happened was we got into durable medical, and that blew up. And within a matter of, I'm going back to, at this point, probably 1995, and we were doing $5 million a month. And here I am, 33 years old, right? I've got two companies. One's doing like 3 or 4 million, and the other one's doing 5 million a month. Which one am I going to focus on? And again, getting back to my marketing background, what I did was I built a marketing and sales plan, and was able to scale it up by taking reps, independent reps from the competitors, by simply paying them more and paying them faster, knowing what motivates. Typically, the other durable medical equipment companies, if you made a sale, they would pay you the middle of next month. So you got to wait maybe 6 weeks to get your paycheck. I was FedExing them checks twice a week. So paid them more money, they got paid faster. So I basically created a recruiting machine. And then overnight, Medicare shut down that entire segment of the industry. They just said, you know what, whatever's going on is crazy. The margins they didn't shut it down. They basically reduced the margins to make it impossible to be profitable. So right around that time, I got contacted by a group of guys where I live today, and really fascinating guys. Like one of the guys who just recently passed, unfortunately, was the co-founder and manager of the rock group Steppenwolf.
Oh
So
my
if you know the
gosh.
song Born to Be Wild, right? Before,
Yeah.
yeah, they were the Sparrows, right, out of Toronto. So, and he went on from there to own a club in New York called Circus Circus, which was a big time nightclub, dating him back into the 60s. And what a story guy. And he was partners with a bond broker, and they somehow learned about me and marketing through a mutual friend. And they were starting this thing on what was known as the World Wide Web, the information superhighway. So think of what LendingTree is today before LendingTree even existed, right? So LendingTree, so they contacted me and said, look, we're building this financial search engine on the information. That's what we called it back then, information superhighway. We need a really good marketer. We'd like to invite you to join the team. And remember, I'm living in Philadelphia. I was recently married. It's February. There's 6 feet of snow on the ground. And they said, how about if we buy you a ticket and put you up at the Breakers in Palm Beach? Like, how do you say no to that, Ken? Right?
Yeah.
And I was like, well, what are you thinking? They said, what about next weekend? Hey, honey, we have plans next weekend? We're going to Palm Beach to stay at the Breakers, right? So long story short, they convinced me to join their team. I actually made an investment, sold my company to my business partner, what was left of the medical diagnostic side, and got involved in the first financial search engine on the World Wide Web. And back then it was crazy. Ken, I would go to sleep at night. I'd wake up in the morning and there was so much new information moving at light speed with what we're kind of experiencing right now with AI, right?
Yeah.
And I'd wake up in the morning and I have a pit in my stomach. Like, oh my God, I can't keep up with all the changes. And we were so far ahead. I would go meet with bankers. We were so far ahead of what everybody else was doing. I would meet with bankers and they would say, well, we can get that information on a CD-ROM. Like, you don't understand. This is instantaneous. You can go in 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and change your rates on your car loans and your mortgages and your CDs. And they just couldn't grasp it. We were so far ahead of the curve. But we did eventually get that company public. And the stock went to 19. And I was like, oh my God, I'm a multimillionaire. And of course, we know what happened to the internet bubble, right? But I'll tell you a funny story, and this is really how I really got into digital marketing. So a friend of mine had also moved to South Florida, a guy I played some college hockey with, and he called me up when he owned a mortgage company up in the Treasure Coast. And he said, listen, there's a guy speaking at the Treasure Coast and Palm Beach Mortgage Bankers Association next month. I want you to come. I'm like, I don't have time to go over it. All this stuff is happening so fast, I don't have time. So he calls me up a week before and he says, listen, I really want you to come. I want to, come have lunch with me. I'm like, I'm really way too busy. So he calls me up the morning of, he says, listen, I bought you a ticket. Come and have lunch with me. And Ken, how do you say no to a free lunch, right? So
Yeah, there you go.
And I'm telling him, look, nobody knows more about this financial search engine stuff than me. Nobody. So I go to the event and the guy that stands up on stage starts talking. He's a freaking genius. Ken, I mean, like, I was in shock. I'm like, oh my God, he's smarter than me. He knows more than me about this. I'm not the smartest guy in the room, but on this subject, I thought I was the smartest guy in the room, and he knew more than me. Turns out he's got a degree in aerospace engineering from Embry-Riddle. So he really is a rocket scientist, right?
Right.
So he hated that life, and he got into digital marketing and SEO. And he was doing Google ads before he was doing pay-per-click before Google ads even existed. And so long story short, this whole auditorium's filled for this luncheon. There's one seat in the whole place and it's next to me. And he sits down next to me. And we became close friends. And we've done a couple deals together. And now he's my business partner at Law Firm Marketing Pros. We have one of the top PPC minds in the country. This guy did a seminar. He was on the front page of the Sun Sentinel in 1993. Think about that, on how to conduct business on the information superhighway. So that was kind of my entree in. I got into it in 96 with Findex and kind of just rolled with it, stepped out for a little bit, stepped back in. And now what happened was I'll tell you how we got to law firm marketing pros. So I lost everything in the crash of 2008, 2009, right? So I get a call from him. This is my rocket scientist, calls me up. He says, "Are you making any money?" I'm like, "No, man, nobody's making any money." He says, "Well, you know how you get that map on Google today?" And back then, that's when they were first introducing the map. I said, I do see that map. Sometimes I get it, sometimes I don't. He said, "Well, that has to do with whether there's commercial intent in your search query and the semantic algorithm, and blah, blah, blah." And I'm like, he's now starting to talk engineering, software engineering language to me. And I'm like, "Well, what are you getting at?" He says, "Well, I spent the last 6 months and I cracked the code." "What do you mean you cracked the code? Is that legal?" He says, "Yeah, I cracked the code. I broke it down." And I'm picturing him in his house with like whiteboards, the if-then statements that they do, right?
Right.
He says, "I know what it's going to take to get on the map, and I think it's going to be really valuable." He says, "I don't know how to sell it. I don't know how to package it. I don't know how to market. You're the best guy I know on how to do that. So if you want, we can start a business and we can start selling it." I'm like, "All right, well, show me how it all works. What are you envisioning?" He says. So he says, "Well, I'll teach you how to do all the citations and all the backlinks." And I'm like, "I'm not going to do that." I'm not that personality, Ken, right? I'm going to be out at every networking event talking to anybody that wants to hear how they can increase their business, drive revenue from being on Google Maps. Back then it was called Google Places, if you remember, right?
Yeah.
I said, "But you know what? I know a guy. He's got a degree in audio engineering. Let me call him and see what's going on." So I called my friend who's got a degree in audio engineering. I'm like, "What's going on? You making any money?" He's like, "No." Nobody's making any money. I moved back in when he was like 32 years old. I'm living in my parents' basement. I said, "So funny." He was driving a Porsche. I'm like, "What happened to your Porsche?" he said, "I had to sell it." So I said, "Well, listen, if you want, I think we've got a business opportunity here. It makes a lot of sense to me. I'll introduce you guys. He can train you how to do it since you're the engineer, and I'll go sell it." He's also my business partner today, Ken. My first sales call was to my family law attorney. God bless her. She was amazing. She got me full custody of my kids, Amy Cosentino. Big shout out to you. I met with her. She said, "Josh, this is amazing. I definitely want to do it. How much do you want?" She wrote me a check. I'm like, "Oh, this is going to be easy."
Yeah.
Little did I know, right? So
Yeah.
that was about 15 years ago. 14,
Right.
14. We're just entering our 15th year now, so 14 years ago. So that's how this whole thing got started. Sorry for the lengthy story,
That's
but yeah,
okay.
that's
It's okay.
yeah.
So, what do you see the biggest mistakes lawyers make, as far
Yeah.
as on digital marketing?
Well, a couple things. As you know, today attribution is really difficult, right?
It's
And so
almost impossible.
yes. And so what they're looking to do, and there's some coaching groups out there that are coaching them to do this. I've gotten arguments with coaches, which never goes well for me, but you got to stand your ground at some point, right? And set boundaries. But they're looking to silo things. They want to know what channel is working so we can put more accelerant on that channel. And it really doesn't work that way. And there are some coaching groups out there, and I know you know this as well, right? That it's more, as we call it a halo strategy, right? So if we can create a halo at everywhere your potential clients look, they see you, they touch you, and they read wonderful things about you. They watch great videos about you, et cetera, et cetera. So that's the first thing, attribution. The second mistake I see is this, is they like to meddle because they went to law school and they're smart, and they are smart, but they also, many of them think that they're smarter than my engineers, right? So they want to mess with the recipe. So here's how I like to describe it, Ken. So we've developed a recipe for the world's greatest chocolate cake. It's an award-winning cake. Look over my shoulder. There's awards everywhere, right? We've got this award-winning recipe. So we give our chocolate cake to the restaurant down the street. You go to that restaurant, it's delicious cake. You're like, "This is amazing." Then a week later, you go to a different restaurant, you order chocolate cake. It's great cake. It's not the same recipe, right? So there's no two recipes that are alike. Let us work our recipe. We know what works, and it might take a little bit longer in this market for this type of lawyer versus this market and this type of lawyer. And I know you know this because market conditions and a variety of things impact the results. But let us do our job. Let us do. It's like the client that tells you they did some Google research on the case and they think you should be doing this instead of that, right? Their
Yeah.
Google research does not compare to your law degree and your law
Yeah.
experience, right?
Yeah.
So those are the two big things.
Yeah. I think makes so much difference, like versus New York versus a town with 30,000, Omaha, Nebraska. I mean, it's going to PI versus family law. PI in New York's going to be crazy hard, whereas family law in Omaha, Nebraska is going to be easy. I mean, well, maybe not easy, but a lot easier. I mean,
Yeah,
that's what I don't know, and you know it better than I do. I just know what lawyers in my masterminds. I see the ones it takes longer for their SEO people to get them rolling, whereas I see it faster in smaller markets, and less competitive markets. But
sure.
like LA, Houston, Dallas, Philly,
Yep.
New York, all the big cities, Chicago, Atlanta, it's crazy. I mean, I guess you got clients there, Josh. I mean, it's got to be
I
like
do.
brutal, man.
Yeah, we're in a fist fight every day for our clients. And
Yeah.
what we recently started doing was actually showing them, because it's really easy to not really appreciate the amount of work that goes in. And effort doesn't necessarily equal success, you know that. So
Yeah.
we actually show them our project management boards now to let them know the number of people that are working on so many different projects for them to continue to move the needle. And then on top of everything else that you just said, then Google goes ahead and makes an algorithm change, a core algorithm
Yeah.
change.
Yeah. I think that's smart because I hear, like I said, I'm not saying I know all this. I'm just telling you, I get a very good pulse on what's going on in the PI industry because of all the lawyers I deal with, and some of them think that once you get it, if they hire SEO kit, they get it, they start to work on it, then they kind of forget about it. They get them starting going good, and then they just, they're trying to get more business, and they don't know what they're doing, and they don't know the right questions to ask because they don't know what they don't know, and so I think that's
The,
smart. So you actually let
the
them
other
see what
problem
you're doing.
is, as you know, there's a lot of I call them charlatans, right? There's a lot of charlatans out there that don't know what they're doing, that are using white label services or a team out of Pakistan. There's nothing wrong with people in Pakistan. What I'm saying is that you need to have a company, an agency that's in control of their team and keep it.
Right.
And the other thing is we keep abreast of all the latest, greatest hacks and technology. We're part of this group called Seven Figure Agency. We won Agency of the Year, and you've got 320 something agencies from around the world. We get together 3 times a year, and we share the best, latest hacks, techniques, and technologies. So
Sounds like a mastermind almost.
it actually, they do a mastermind breakout as part of it, but only for the elite members. They call them Titans. So only for those doing multiple 7 figures get to participate in that. But that keeps us. And let me tell you what happens is that we will get a report from one of our competitors giving it to one of our clients, and we'll see the report based on antiquated information. Like they're looking at stuff from 6 months ago.
Yeah.
Which doesn't sound that long ago, but guess what? In our space, it is, right? So that's one of our challenges.
I always equivocate. It's like trying to paint a moving train. I mean, it just goes so fast. It's hard to keep up with it all, and all the Google algorithms that they're changing all the time. So what is PPC? I know, is it still alive after with all this LSAs, local service ads? Are you seeing more lawyers throw more money in that and do away with the PPC stuff?
No, I think it's the other way around. I think the LSAs are problematic, and here's why. You're going to get some conversions, but because of the way that Google changed the ability to dispute the LSAs, and by the way, it's been hit or miss depending on the part of the country you are and the type of law. So we can do the exact same thing in New Orleans that we're doing in Philadelphia, and one works and one doesn't, right? So
I've seen the same thing. We got some lawyers that are killing it, and we got some that just saying, can't get any cases. If I do, it costs me $5,000 a case. And I got other guys that are getting them for $1,500 a pop, and they loving it.
yeah, so that's exactly right. And the reason the customer acquisition cost, the client acquisition cost is so high is because of the automated disputing process that you can't dispute it anymore. So that it might take again, you might be spending $5, $6, $7,000 to get a case. It's just not worth it.
Yeah. PPC, I've heard lawyers say that, I've seen some very successful with it, and I've seen some that really go in there and just like throw money into a fan. I mean, it just blows away.
So here's the thing: we regularly audit PPC accounts as part of our process to bring on a new client.
Right.
And I will tell you that there's never been, in 14 years, never been a client that was what we would consider a perfect account. Okay. And I'm not saying ours are necessarily perfect, but I've got a rocket scientist who's been doing this since before Google even was formed. And again, there's different ways to make that recipe, right, Ken? But I'm amazed when I see that there's no negative keywords. Okay. I'm amazed when I see the fact that there's no proper retargeting. So what our goal is at Law Firm Marketing Pros is simple. You got to have PPC, because if you're not ranking on SEO, you're not going to get any clients. So until we can get you to rank, you got to get wins. You got to get clients, right? So the beautiful thing about PPC is you can throttle your budget so that when we get you to start to rank, you can pull back on that PPC budget and get more organic ranking. So again, at the end of the day, the goal is to drive down your client acquisition cost. And we do that in PPC by doing what we're going to call outer lying areas. So that if, for example, I was going to talk about the Charlotte market, because you're in North Carolina, right? So what are smaller communities outside Charlotte? I'm in South Florida. I could talk Philly all day long, but maybe I should do that. So
like Albemarle, Hickory, things like that.
So for me here, my office is in Jupiter. My home is in Palm Beach Gardens, but we're in Palm Beach County, and the county seat is West Palm Beach. Well, do you think there's a high concentration of attorneys in the county seat? Of course there are, which means that the cost per click is going to be higher. So guess what? We are going to do some West Palm Beach, but we're also going to do some of the outer lying markets like Palm Beach Gardens, like Jupiter. We're going to do a demographic analysis on this, by the way, to get the desirable avatar. So we're going to pick those lower cost per click markets that aren't as competitive. Then what we're going to do is we're going to layer in, if possible, we layer in Spanish. Spanish is a fraction of the cost, like maybe 1/10 the cost. And then we're going to layer in, once you start doing your retargeting, and when you layer in YouTube ads, and many people don't understand the value of YouTube ads. Most people don't know that YouTube's the second largest search engine. So that when they do go to YouTube, and they're going to go to YouTube as part of their journey anyway, so if we can hit them with ads, then you're talking about 2.5 to 5 cents. And you're not getting that charge, that 2.5 to 5 cents, unless they've watched 30 seconds of the video. So the combination of those things drives down the customer acquisition cost until we can get the clients to rank high in SEO.
Which one of the YouTube ads? Because they got different formats. They got some like if you can click off after 5 seconds and they don't charge you anything, and then they got some they make you watch to the end, and they, and then they got some 15, some 30s, and different things. I don't even know.
Yep, that's a great question, Ken. And I wish I could give you a straight answer. The reality, we're going to test them. We're going to test it by market, see what's working best in your market. Because what's working for you, right, might not be working here in West Palm, right?
Got it. Yep. And the retargeting, and you tell me if I'm wrong, because that could have changed. I just know that I've had some lawyers tell me that when they try to retarget on Google, they ban them because they're saying it's got something to do with HIPAA or something, but that they do the retargeting to Facebook or. Yes.
So glad you brought that up. So again, that has to do with an agency that does not know how to write good ad copy, that will avoid what we're going to call the Google slap, right? So after, again, 14 years for me, for my rocket scientists, we're going back 20 something years, right? So now we've got 20 something years of experience doing this. Never happened once for us, not one time.
That's great to know, because I always wondered about that, because I'd see some lawyers say, well, they're not banning me. I mean, mine are going through, and some lawyers saying, ma'am, we try it, it goes good for about a week or two, then they do the slap, so you can't do this. So then they go to Facebook.
One of the other things we see, and if you just go online and Google car accident, injury attorney near me, whatever, you're going to see most of those ads look the same, right? It's like the billboards up and down the highway, most of them look the same, right? So unless
Yeah.
I always like to say, unless you, and I'm not saying billboards don't work, right? Because it's part of an overall branding plan. But I'm not going to remember the name of the law firm unless I get in an accident right underneath that billboard, right? Now, maybe I'll recognize that because of the ad campaigns that they're running on TV, and then I see them on Google and as part of the whole customer journey. But what we've done is we've taken it, let me say it this way. If all of the ads look the same, it just becomes a commoditized service, right? So what we've done is we've taken our time with our ad copy to make our clients look different. It's a competitive differentiator, right? Like no fee, no fee, no fee. That's not how to do it. You know what it should say? Someone should pay. That's what it should say, right?
Yeah.
So that's just one example, right?
I love it. I love it. Okay. What do you think is going to be the biggest change over the next 6 to 12 months? What do you see coming that's going to rock the
You
world?
know, it's funny that you say that. Just last night, I was using my voice activated AI as I was laying in bed, couldn't fall asleep, right on Easter Sunday night, right? I'm saying, I asked the AI bot, because it's conversational now. It's amazing, right? So I said, what do you think are the 5 biggest trends with AI and the personal injury space? And it's a female, and she started, and she went on and on and on. I'm like, oh my God, I can't deal with this now. I'm going to have to do it tomorrow. So today, after I get off this call, I'm going to jump back into that conversation and take it to a deeper level. And I can share this with you at another point, Ken. But amazing conversation of the 5 biggest things that are coming down the pike for personal injury having to do with AI. And because I'm going to ask you for what are the opportunities, right? So what are the opportunities that Ken can benefit from? What are the opportunities that law firm marketing pros can benefit from? And we're going to see some amazing thing happen. Chat GPT 5.0 is coming out in June.
Yeah, you got to be with it. I mean, I tell everybody, don't do what like most lawyers deal with the internet and say, oh, it's just a fad. No, this is not a fad either. This is real.
No,
This is
it's not. I'll tell you, just a perfect example of what you can do with AI. I have my annual physical coming up. I got my blood work back. I go to a functional medicine doctor, right? I told ChatGPT to analyze my blood work and make recommendations as if you were a functional medicine doctor. I dragged the PDF in and it spit out a 10-page report without any bias, without forgetting anything that a functional medicine, that any doctor might. So there's no MD bias, right? Because an MD might say, right? So now I can't wait to have my annual and hand the report to my doctor to see how she reacts, right?
What's your unbelievable. What's your take on what's your stance on AI creating content for your website?
Yeah, it's funny. There's when AI first began to gain popularity about 1.5 to 2 years ago, one of the members of the 7-figure agency group I'm with did exactly what you're saying. And they were so proud. They came to one of the conferences and they showed this graph where the rankings were like this, right? Meteoric, right? And then within a couple of weeks, they got slapped by Google for having AI content and it fell off the cliff. Right. So, and basically that URL was flagged. So what I would recommend to do is what we do. It's a combination. So we do our research using AI. We use a tool like Answer the Public, right, so you can find out the way people in a given market are searching. So for example, in North Carolina, we know that the term wrecker for a tow truck is often used, right? I was in a car wreck, I called it wrecker, right? Well, I'm from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. No one ever used that term. Right? So that if you use a tool like Answer the Public, it's going to tell you how people are searching, especially for long tail. And we're using this not for website content, but for our blog content to get our blogs to rank. And the high ranking blogs are going to support your website ranking. Does that make sense?
Yep.
So we will use it in helping us determine the best title tags to use on pages.
Yep. Yeah.
Not for the content. A human being has to write the content.
Yeah, I've used it to give me like an outline on something I want to write about. It's so I won't miss nothing, right? You know what I'm saying? and then, maybe get a little bit more detailed in the outline, but then I'm going to actually dictate or write out the article or whatever it is. Because I think it needs to be in my voice too, which is,
Yeah. Well, for you and for the attorneys, you've got the attorney brand, and our team spends a lot of time with the lawyers and their team so we can be on point with their brand.
yeah.
So,
Well, good deal, man. I enjoyed this. Any last parting words? And I want to find out how people can get up with you if they want to, talk to you and let you look at their stuff.
I'll say this: you can't do it by yourself. You can't do it with one of the partners members who just graduated college and has a degree in media and marketing. There's no way they can do with a team. I've got 55 on my team. There's no way they can do what we can do, right? And I have competitors out there that have 100 people on their team, right? So don't try to do it yourself, and don't think because somebody came out of college. It's funny. The curriculums in college, by the way, are, and you probably know this from law school as well, are at least 2 years antiquated. So my daughter has a degree in marketing and media, and she's been working for me since she was 16, and she was constantly correcting her professors, much to their chagrin. But she was like, that's like 2 years, that's a year old. It doesn't work that way anymore. So she would have to tell them, I work for a digital marketing agency. My dad owns the company. So that, just keep that in mind. That's the first thing.
Yeah.
The second thing is social media. Let's just touch on that very quickly, and then I'll tell everybody. Social media organic is highly, highly overrated and is very different than social media paid. Social media organic is if I post on Facebook and I've got 1,000 followers, 10 people are going to see it. 1%, maybe 20 people are going to see it, 2%. So Facebook wants you to pay to play. And those people who are your followers, guess what? They already know who you are. So don't get overfixated, right? Don't get overfixated on social media organic. And yes, you can successfully do social media paid for personal injury and get conversions. We're doing it right now. But there's a right way and a wrong way to do it, right? So don't get overly fixated on your social media organic. So Ken, this has been great. The best way for people to reach me is to go to our website. That's lawfirmmarketingpros.com. Again, lawfirmmarketingpros.com. And if you want a one-on-one call with me, just at the top of the page, the homepage, there's a request to call form. Just fill it out and somebody will be back in touch with you within a few hours.
All right, good deal. I appreciate it. This has been fun. It really has.
Thanks for inviting me. Really appreciate it.
Yes, sir. Yeah. Until next time, this is Ken Hardison, dedicated to your success. Thank you.
You have been listening to the Grow Your Law Firm podcast, the podcast that leads lawyers to more growth, profit, and freedom. Go to growyourlawfirm.com to find more ways to market and manage your law firm. Please leave us a rating and review wherever you listen to your podcasts.